Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Ian's Corner, and I am excited to present another episode of our After Hours Screen Talk. I'm Jesse here with my brother Dan again, and this time we chose a horror movie again, since we're big into horror, as you know, called Benny Loves You. This film came out in 2019. It was written and directed by Karl Holt, who also stars as the lead in the film. And I think he did everything in this movie, including the special effects. This was a passion project. So here's our review of it. The plot of the movie is about Jack. He's this failing toy designer, and he lives with his parents until they unfortunately tragically die in a shocking freak accident. And and he has this beloved teddy bear, although it doesn't look like a teddy bear really, called Benny. He's red. He looks kind of like Elmo and actually kind of talks a little bit like Elmo from Sesame Street. And it's his favorite toy from his childhood. And uh-oh, turns out Benny is alive, and it's as you would expect, doing pretty naughty things it shouldn't be doing. So that's a setup. Another like killer toy movie. Loved how the opening of the film just kind of announces unapologetically the kind of tone it's going to be. The way it opens is with this girl having a tantrum. This girl throws away her old teddy bear. The teddy bear, through supernatural means, which are never really explained, comes back to life. Then, unfortunately, the teddy bear kills her. The mom is so fed up with her daughter that she's like looking on the computer, like, is it legally okay for me to like slap my kid? And that's what she does to quiet her down when the kid is actually screaming for her life, like, come help me. Thinks the kid's still being a brat, so she walks in and this slaps her. The movie does this a lot. It's showing something in a satirical, funny light, like parenthood.
I think the film is pure comedy, personally. If the film was looking to scare me or shock me or excite disgust in me, it didn't accomplish that goal. But if it was looking to create a really broad, dark comedy with a satirical edge that hooked itself onto some of the the common tropes of this particular subgenre. I think it did that really well, and it's an interesting kind of commentary on viewership as well. That, for instance, the film can begin with this spectacular murder of a little girl, and it's just funny. It's played for laughs. There's no baggage or discomfort there, and in fact, it's played up as if like, good for you, get it, brat, you know?
Well, even the parent is thinking it too.
Yeah, yeah. It's light and schmaltzy in spite of the fact that how violent it is and the fact that it is a work of horror comedy.
It's very predictable, like who's going to die and when they're going to die. There's no buildup or suspense there. So this film is taking a different tone, and I agree. Like the horror is very subordinate to the comedy, and it just the comedy. I think just intentionally just deflates every like horror or shocking moment in the film. It just instantly deflates it and makes it funny. The protagonist, Jack, this failed toy designer working for this toy company, and the way like the toy company is portrayed is as this almost like evil corporation, and his boss is this soulless empty suit. In the adult world, the alternative to a guy stuck in his boyhood is really symbolized by his boss, Ron, this robot in a suit. I can't really judge Jack when the world around him is equally kind of unpleasant, you know? So
I don't think I ever find myself at a point in this film where I think, oh, cool, so here's a sincere stream where we're no longer in the realm of sardonic, ironic satire. Um,
yeah.
Because like, I mean, there's no alternative to that ethos in the film. The film really is a pure work of satire in the sense that there isn't a kind of moment where we're stepping out of that ironic, mocking posture of taking a skeptical, teasing distance from everything. So as you say,
Yeah.
the boyhood is awful and pathetic and weird and unhealthy, but adulthood is equally weird and strange and terrifying and unhealthy. It's all toxic. And if this film is serious about any of it, then that would come as a great shock to me.
Before Benny actually starts like killing people, first thing that he does is he massacres all of Jack's like plush toys. He calls the police, which is itself again ridiculous because he's so disturbed by this and he thinks police intervention is necessary. That's when the satire comes in. That's when you're as much questioning like Jack's character at that point as you are like what Benny is doing. Benny starts killing people that he thinks is a threat to his bond with Jack. If you're threatening my connection with Jack or you're taking Jack away from me, I'm going to kill you. So Benny becomes this like grotesque protector of Jack. I found this movie a little bit like Office Space as well. This bureaucratic toy company and this the Office Space is very much playing off the dynamics within Office Space and how you become a robot and just an instrument of your function. It's played up for irony because it's the fact that this is a toy company. You have Jack try to relive his boyhood. That's probably why he became a toy designer, to relive his boyhood and capture his childhood, but becomes this hostile, toxic, like soul-sucking environment for him that is sapping away his life and will to live, which may or may not reflect how toy companies actually operate.
Yeah, I think one of the most depressing and hilarious moments in the film for me is when Jack decides to turn over a new leaf and starts listening to the self-help book, and refurbishes his room to reflect the adult world that he wants to live in. And when he's got that refurbishing finished, what do we have? We have a "I Love New York" poster. We've got this weird blood spatter Rorschach painting on the wall. It looks under-designed and hollow and weird, and sociopathic. Like this is a sociopath's dorm room. And it's like this is his interpretation of the adult world. And of course, considering the culture that he's encountered at his work, why wouldn't he think that this is adulthood? This weird, um, hollowed out space brimming with barely contained violence and arrogant aggression.
Yeah. Yeah. Did he redecorate his room after getting rid of his childhood things? Is that what
Yeah, so
happened?
like I
Oh,
mean,
yeah. Okay.
formerly his place looked like, it looked like a kid's bedroom with
Yeah.
all the accoutrements of childhood, with the toys and everything on the wall. And then it becomes this sort of minimal environment that, you know, you would you would, write a kill list and then plot your murders in.
And he also meets this like beautiful blonde employee colleague at the company who inextricably takes an interest in him. It's kind of random. Dawn is her name, played by Claire Cartwright. They develop this relationship.
They're mocking that trope of the unappealing beta male who somehow gets in with this striking, glamorous alpha female. And the film, I think, really is very purposefully, showing us a version of that it is utterly impossible to take seriously.
Their relationship is very thin, and her draw towards him and what appeal he has, it's very murky. She has a backstory where she had a toy herself and had a tragic backstory, and so they have a shared history in that respect. It feels like tacked on there as just the explanation for why these two would be together. It doesn't feel like very real because horrible things are happening. And in some cases, he's kind of doing them as well. She just doesn't question anything. And so she seems like a very kind of like thin, hollow character that's just there as this kind of fantasy for him. He's inspired by his toy Benny to create this new like macabre toy line, Scare Bears, and they're just different variations of Benny. They all look like Benny but have a different concept or theme. And for one, I thought that was notable because this is the scene where he's really bonding with Benny. And the way he's bonding is making this really dark horror series. So, and he's also a little nonchalant about the murders. It seems more like an inconvenience. Like he has like decapitated heads in his bed and he's just like carrying them around as if they're just like trash he needs to get rid of. And he doesn't seem too much as concerned with the people Benny is killing, and the fact that he's like bonding with Benny, creating this horror series of toys. Says something about Jack and who he is and his dark side. These kinds of characters stuck in their childhood, trying to relive their boyhood. And I think those kinds of characters very much appeal to like the millennial generation, and how his character is very much about childhood, about nostalgia. And so when he was creating this toy series, I was thinking like it's just Benny again and again and again in a different form. And so I think I might be going too deep with this, but how like that's symbolic of a character who's stuck in his childhood, very nostalgic, and just selling nostalgia. He's just repackaging it in a different form. Always Benny, always the same thing, selling it as if it's something different, but you're still getting Benny all the time, you know? So,
I think the film is a cheerfully nihilistic version of what Stranger Things is doing in a much more sentimental and sincere way, which is, I mean, the film is driven by and reflects postmodern consumer culture. And that's, one of the commentaries of the film is, I don't know how self-consciously it's making this commentary, but one of the commentaries on the Jack character is that his history is a history of consumption. His history is a history of toys and products and commodities. And the
yeah,
relationship to the world is filtered very much through the paradigm of consumer and commodity. And that's actually something that the film is really frank about in its symbolism. It's like Benny is not the only um, mayhem causing toy in the film. You find out that that the number of other characters have these childhood um, stuffed animals or childhood items that have come to life and have gone rogue because they've threatened to emerge into symbolic adulthood away from that nostalgic, kind of imaginary realm. Um, but what's pretty explicit about that is that these things are very much connected to the postmodern, nihilistic, and cynical consumer culture promoted by the ice cold corporation that Jack works for. Um,
yeah, yeah,
the
totally.
film doesn't seem ambivalent about this exactly. It shows us it in this kind of like really cheerfully. Like I said, the film feels very nihilistic to me. I don't think there's any sense that there's a kind of a hopefulness at some point that there could be some kind of alternative to this.
We love nostalgia and we sell it, and particularly in this era, this millennial era, um, love things that reference the past, and the past is like an anchor and a hook for us. And I think that's a film like this too, is where the irony and satire comes in, is that yeah, the past in our childhoods is an anchor, but that could be a very like horrifying past, yet still in this film it's laughable because still, despite whatever Benny does, no matter how horrible it is, Benny is still a toy that he views with like sentimental attachment throughout that never leaves. I also think that plays into his rival at the toy company, whose name is Richard, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Richard. This
Richard's
guy
my
is,
favorite part of the film.
yeah, he's this complete asshole, and then randomly though, you don't know anything about him except that he's a huge like Prince fan. And I think that was another aspect that why I was bringing up nostalgia, because this is a character you know nothing about, but he like dresses, I think, as Prince at one point and has Prince paraphernalia, is always talking about Prince. And this character who is lifestyle and passions are all about nostalgia, about this music artist. A lot of people love Prince, but I think that was very pointedly chosen in the film because it's of its nostalgic kind of sentimental value.
Yeah, and I mean Prince is Richard's alpha and omega. That's clearly, other than his job, it's all he has. He has this obsessive investment in Prince as an artist, a musician, a person, a commodity unto himself, but also a religion. I mean, this is pretty much the implication in that character, and one of the reasons I like it so much is that Prince, the figure Prince in this world of consumer culture has replaced every kind of traditional source of sacredness and meaning in a character like Richard's life, you know. So in the absence of these long-standing, more traditional kind of markers of identity like religion and ethnicity, culture, language, what has Richard got? Richard's got Prince.
Yeah,
Jack's got Benny. Ron, the boss, has his obsessive, single-minded investment in his dog to the
yeah,
extent that he's making his terrorized family sing a dog song in the van, while they're
yes,
driving. You know, I mean, this is
right,
so
right,
that
right.
dog is
Yeah,
clearly Ron's religion. This is the sole source of what counts anymore for meaning and sacredness and an investment that resembles a kind of more multi-layered spiritual um, identification with something beyond oneself, and yet
yeah.
it's fundamentally a commodity.
I thought it was less about Prince as an artist and just as this a reference, this empty reference. It could have been anything. It could have been David Bowie, Thundercats, or 80s cartoon. It could have been anything. Nostalgia, I think it is like a thing in the movie. On the whole, I thought Benny Loves You was fun. I was entertained by it. It gave me a few laughs. I think the comedy ultimately did kind of deflate from like the horror element of it for me. I would have liked a little more suspense and tension around like the murder scenes and the kills, and also a little more mystery around Benny and in terms of the reveal of when Benny like comes alive. But we've seen so many like toy killer toy movies, and I think this is playing off that at this point, like we don't need a mystery here. We know it's a killer toy. This is a killer toy movie. Let's get on with it and have fun. It works on a satirical level, but on a horror level, like for me, not so much.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing. Has to be some stakes at play in a horror film for you to feel that suspense, that fear, that horror, and there are no stakes here. It's completely guilt and feeling. It's emotion free. It's an emotionless film.
Yeah,
Um, the director does this up front. He can kill a child. He can kill a dog. He can kill any number of ostensibly human persons. No, none of these murders leave any kind of impact or mean anything. In fact, the film very transparently and obviously says none of this matters. Um,
yeah.
this is just funny if it's anything. And you know, here it is. This is all we have to offer you because let's be honest, this is all there is. And this is why I refer to the film as fundamentally nihilistic.
I mean, I don't know if I go so far to call it nihilistic because I think there's still like a sentimentality there um, that's kind of held up, and I think there's still a sense of an aura there around this character and his sentiment towards his childhood and this toy. So,
Mm.
but I think yeah, it is a movie that is there to entertain you, to give you some laughs, and make you laugh and mock at very horrible things on screen, which plenty of like horror comedies do. But I like a horror comedy that makes you laugh, but then as you're laughing, makes you really disturbed. At the same time, I enjoyed it. I maybe didn't love it, and I think it's interesting just in terms of like the character types and having this particular character type of person stuck in their childhood and how that really resonates with the millennial generation. I mean, it resonates with me too. I mean, a lot of why I do like a YouTube channel is like I love like uh, sharing my passion for film and like reliving also like my boyhood and what really influenced me as a kid. So I totally get that. That was a way I related to the movie. So those are our thoughts about Betty Loves You. And yeah, if you liked our video, please like and subscribe. And we look forward to doing another one of these very soon for you. So we'll see you soon. And yeah, be well, and we'll come out with a new video shortly. All right, bye.